Well, hello there. Yes, welcome to another little edition of Nailsin Ratings. And for this little episode, we're going to talk about Twin Peaks. Boy. Look, Twin Peaks was an important show to me in my younger years. When it first came out, it was so bizarre and unusual and fascinating, and broke ground that I guess you could say opened some doors for later shows. But there were problems there. Mark Frost and David Lynch, as the story goes, either lost interest or they had other projects. They were making movies and that sort of thing. And some other people kind of took over, and the series kind of went off the rails, and far from its original atmosphere and what have you. And that's true. It did do that. And but it was also a one plot deal. The mystery was who killed Laura Palmer, and once that was solved, the air in the tires went out, and so it was. They had other plots and stories trying to give you something more once this passed, and you'd go on to something else. And apparently David Lynch didn't want to reveal who the killer was, at least not that soon. But the networks wanted it because they figured they had to have a payoff there because, the viewership was already starting to dwindle. It had a huge viewership, and then it started to fade because, it got off track and people were feeling like, hey, you're screwing with us. Well, so it ends on a cliffhanger. And, of course, in the story where there's this other dimension where the evil entity of Bob, who had possessed Laura Palmer's father, and that's basically Bob killed Laura Palmer. And so the whole story there with this other dimension that was connected to Native American folklore and this sort of thing. And Special Agent Dale Cooper investigates this, and he ends up being trapped in this other dimension called the Black Lodge. And Bob took over where your spirit gets trapped. But Dale Cooper's body came back out, but it was now possessed by evil Bob, and that's how the series ended. Oh no, the hero is now the villain, and blah, blah, blah. So there was actually sequences within the show that suggested the story would continue 25 years after these events. And, well, here we are. And so David Lynch was able to get a follow-up series for Showtime. And so, and at the outset, Showtime had suggested, hey, how about 8 episodes? And that seemed to be a deal breaker, and Lynch almost walked away. No, he wanted more, and they ended up agreeing on 18 episodes. Well, that was way too many. This story did not need 18 episodes. He could have done it in 8, and even 8 is being generous because there's no story here. There's a bunch of weird things here and there, and of course it's typical of Lynch stories, but they went nowhere. And there's some enjoyable moments. There's some very rarely some actual feels like Twin Peaks moments. And truth be told, it's hardly ever Twin Peaks because you never really get to Twin Peaks. You visit it once in a while, but the rest of it takes place elsewhere, and several things happen that's never explained, not even trying to be explained. It's just a colossal letdown and a waste of talents like Kyle MacLachlan. It's really sad, and it really ticks me off because I was a Twin Peaks fan and I wanted to see the follow-up, so you don't get a lot of things answered. What happened to Annie? I mean, that's the last question at the end of this original series. And I don't know. I guess she's dead. I don't know. She's just not there. All of a sudden, Cooper's turns out was always in love with Diane, the mysterious woman that he was sending messages to, who apparently wasn't real. She was a tulpa. Or actually, she was real, but her real self was also trapped in the Black Lodge, and her tulpa was masquerading. I mean, good Lord. And maybe they're all tulpas. The whole thing is a dream. It never really happened. You get some surreal explanations of where Bob came from. Apparently, he was born out of the atomic bomb test in the 40s, and this was like a Pandora's box opened up and evil entities came out, and this resulted in a frog, half bug creature that somehow impregnated a young girl, and she apparently gave birth to Bob. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and assume that perhaps she somehow is actually Laura's mother too, or grandmother maybe, I don't know, because turns out Laura's mother is not exactly human, but they showed that, and then that's it. You never see or hear from that again. As far as the sex pot, Audrey Horne, apparently she died in that bank explosion because it looks like her spirit is trapped in some sort of hellacious other dimension where she's married to some weird looking little dude. But then again, she apparently had a son. He's running around. He says, "I'm Audrey Horne's son," and then he gets electrocuted. Well, how did he get there if she died in that explosion? You just don't know, because they never really say she died. But it sure looks like she's somewhere that's not normal. But no follow-up. So the idea, we need another season, don't we? Yeah. You probably do, but you shouldn't get it. Showtime should ask for their money back. Because like I said, 8 episodes was being generous. They caved and gave him 18 for him to screw around with us and just waste all this time. And it's a real shame. So, like I said, there were some interesting moments that I did actually enjoy. So, 1 gold star for Twin Peaks Season 3. Oh boy. Well, what are you going to do? Alright, in the description below, you will find links to some stores where you could help out your old pal, Mr. Nailsin. And do check out my podcast at RadioMisfits.com. That's completely free. But the other stores that you can check out for t-shirts and hats and stuff. And also the Selfie store, where I have the videos where I do my poor man's Mystery Science Theater treatment to public domain films. So do enjoy those. They're dirt cheap. And you can help out your old pal, Mr. Nailsin. Yes, you can. All right. Talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching and listening.